Welcome back. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu says the decision to halt the filling of posts in the Crime Intelligence Division has derailed crime-fighting efforts. This follows late last year's decision by the minister ordering Police Commissioner Fani Masemola to stop the recruitment in the division. Joining us now is Chad Thomas from IRS Forensic Investigations. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Thomas, for being with us this evening. Now, how has this halting of filling up the posts really impacted crime, especially on ground level?
Good evening to you and to the viewers, and wishing the viewers, of course, a blessed Christmas, Easter rather, weekend if they observe. In respect of the suspension of appointments, that letter came as a surprise on the 31st of December 2024 from the minister, addressed to the Commissioner Fani Masemola. And amongst others, it suspended the appointments of provincial heads of crime intelligence. It also disbanded the political killing task team, which was operating in KwaZulu-Natal. When we look at crime on the ground around the country, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, which is one of the provinces where the post was put on hold for the appointment of a new head of crime intelligence, we've seen a massive spike in cash in transit heists and extortion. So one can say that without effective leadership, you're not going to be able to see your members on the ground being able to operate effectively.
And surely this also has then an impact on police themselves in terms of the morale, where so much work had been put in, and now the freezing of those posts, the leadership that is absent for them to be able to continue with their crime-fighting efforts must have an impact on the policemen on the ground themselves.
Look, I think since our minister took office in the middle of last year, we've seen a change in attitude in terms of policing. We've seen a revitalized energy. We've seen the Police Crime Summit, which took place over 3 days a week ago. And all of this bodes very well for the police. The only blunders that we've seen from the minister's perspective, if one could call it a blunder, was the suspension of these critical appointments. Crime intelligence is most probably the most important tool to take on organized crime in South Africa, and organized crime is at an all-time high. So if one looks at the minister's performance up until now, it's been very good. It can be better, and one of the most important things he needs to ensure is that the right members are now appointed in these very senior leadership positions.
Could such a decision in the long term, Chad, have any repercussions with regards to retention and recruitment of police officers?
Most definitely. We've had issues within crime intelligence over the years. One cannot forget the fact that General Mluli, when he was head of crime intelligence, issued what was called the Ground Coverage Report, which was a report that made an already paranoid president even more paranoid. And the Office of Crime Intelligence was used to settle political squabbles, to fund various aspects of political aspirations, rather than funding what should have been done in terms of preventing organized crime from surging to the point it did. And we've had problems with crime intelligence for a long time. One cannot forget that General Mbasu was closely linked through his wife to Radovan Krejcir, who was a lead proponent of organized crime in South Africa. When we see our leadership being appointed now, it's going to send a very clear message to the members on the ground that the police are either serious or not as serious in fighting crime. And we need effective leadership. We've seen effective leadership coming out of the Crime Intelligence National Office with the establishment of certain specialized units, such as the anti-kidnapping task team. We're seeing efforts made in respect of extortion, cash in transit, ATM heists, that type of crime. But of course, when your three provinces, KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape, sit without effective leadership in crime intelligence, you can actually measure the spike in crime on the ground.
And the gaps in expertise and experience that we are currently experiencing within the police force, how large are those?
It's a massive skills deficit. I had the pleasure of joining the Hawks for an event on Thursday morning. And in that room was a brain's trust of experienced members. And what caught me off guard is that almost half of those members will be retiring between now and over the next 12 to 24 months. And there hasn't been a skill transfer. These members are hitting the ground running, carrying more dockets than they should, and they haven't had the time to mentor new members that are coming into, say, for example, the detective units. And we're sitting with a massive skills deficit already, which is only going to get worse with the early retirements that are coming to effect, where people are taking retirement at 55, and those that have reached the normal retirement age. So we are very afraid at this point in time about the critical skills deficit within our detective services and our hawks.
And are we seeing more younger people wanting to come in and become detectives? Is this a lucrative career opportunity that we are seeing more and more young people taking up?
That's an interesting question. I've always regarded policing, and so have a lot of the older members, as being a vocation where you want to make a difference in fighting crime, you want to solve crime, you want to protect your communities. We're seeing a lot of people are joining the police and other areas where you used to see it being vocationally aligned, such as teaching, nursing, etc., where it's now just regarded as a job. And we need to offset this against the fact that we need people that are motivated, that have the necessary inspiration from their leadership to actually want to be in the police for the sake of protecting their communities, for the sake of bringing down crime. So we see a lot of people joining the police. We see at the same time a lot of people leaving the police. What we're not seeing is a lot of people joining the police to make that difference. We need to try to get away from this perspective of it just being a job and getting back to the perspective of recruiting the right people that want to make a difference.
And that's very important. Lastly, Chad, I'm sure in the midst of these positions being filled, there's also a huge gap in terms of community involvement and how communities need to come together in assisting police in ensuring that we combat crime together.
That was one of the prime points that came out of the 3-day police summit, where the minister spoke about the effectiveness of cooperation between various stakeholders, be it community policing forums, patrol groups, the private security industry, etc. And what we've seen is a disconnect between communities and the police over the last few years. And we're hoping that with this minister's energy, with the right leadership, within the senior ranks of the police, that they're going to reach out to the communities again, because the communities are integral in fighting crime in South Africa.
Chad, thank you so much for your time this evening. That's Chad Thomas from the IRS Forensic Investigation Unit. Thank you.